Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Resurrection Sunday. Now, many people are not aware of this, but this is amazing, okay? The resurrection of Jesus Christ is a historical fact. It's not just a belief, but it's also history. It's proven. It was proven. Because there's so many people out there that claim to be atheists that said, I'm going to destroy this once and for all. There's this one guy. He traveled all through Europe in the libraries trying to destroy Christianity. Because if you can destroy the resurrection, you can destroy Christianity. Because Christianity is based upon the resurrection. So he was going through his arguments of towards the resurrection, and the next thing you know, he's on his knees before God. Then there's this other guy. He was a lawyer. He was convinced that the resurrection was made up so that the disciples can make a name for themselves. So he said he was going to prove to the world that the resurrection never happened. So he traveled all the way to Israel. He got all the documents. He aligned all the things up. And even he got saved. Because there's no such thing as a well-known research atheist. Because if you do your homework on Christ, his life, his death, his burial, and resurrection, you will run into a brick wall of evidence that it is fact and reality. Okay? And this other guy, Lee Strobel, he's a journalist. He never believed in God. Okay? He said if Jesus existed, he was just a great teacher. So he went on his research and what's it called? Yeah, he created arguments, but as he was doing his research, this took 2 years of research, I believe it was. He said the evidence was all coming out. He got so mad that he kicked a hole in his living room wall because he said he did not want there to be a God because he did not want to be held accountable. Then at the end of his research, he was writing his arguments too on his book. He's like, wait a minute. I have this avalanche of evidence pointing directly to Christianity, pointing directly to Jesus Christ. He said, I would have had to attain more faith for my atheism than to believe in Jesus Christ. And he said his journalist tactics always taught him to never walk away from truth, and he got saved. Like there's so many. There's this other guy from Harvard University. They put all the facts of Jesus Christ together to see if it was true, if he was who he said he was. And then after, he got saved. But he said the real reason for that studying Jesus was to disprove it. But this is the amazing thing. There's this other guy that said, why don't you put the claims of Jesus of Nazareth to the test and see if he was who he said he was? So this guy, he did all the research, he put all the tests, all the facts and everything, and he said Jesus was who he said he was, and the greatest of all these things is this. In Revelation chapter 3 verse 20 it says, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come into him and dine with him and he with me. He said, I asked Jesus to come in and he came in. Like there's so much evidence. Even historians wrote about it. And ancient history shows that the body mysteriously disappeared. Nobody knows what happened to it. This is God's word, okay? But I want to read this. Jesus fulfilled every prophecy in the Bible. And plus, Jesus said to the Pharisees, because they got mad at him after he destroyed in the marketplace where he got mad. When the Pharisees came to him and said, what miracle will you show that you have the right to do this? Jesus said, destroy this temple, and in 3 days I'll rise it up again. They thought he was talking about the temple buildings, but Jesus was talking about his body. Okay? And then after, he said, show us a sign. He's like, this sinful and adulterous generation seeks after a sign. No sign shall be given it except the sign of Jonah. Just as Jonah was 3 days and 3 nights in the belly of the great fish, so shall the Son of Man be 3 days and 3 nights in the belly of the earth. There will only be one sign that I will show you, and that is my resurrection. And they still did not believe. Isn't that crazy? Because even when Jesus was dead, the Pharisees went before the soldiers and said, "We remember." So that means they heard him. "We remember while this deceiver was still alive, he said, 'After 3 days I will rise again.' Send a guard to the tomb, or else the disciples may come by night and steal the body away and say that he is really risen from the dead, and the last lie will be worse than the first." And yet it happened. And yet the soldiers came back. Imagine having a testimony like that. "We went to guard a dead man's tomb, and then boom, an earthquake. We saw an angel come, and his tomb is empty. Oh, you must pay money. The disciples came by night." This was totally impossible to happen, because it was sealed and everything. And believe me, you can't roll a stone away that heavy. And plus, they put 100 pounds of spices on the body and everything. But I want to show Jesus fulfilled every Old Testament prophecy concerning his first coming. But I want to read this right here, where it talks about the resurrection in Psalms chapter 16. I'll start from 10. "For thou wilt not abandon my soul to Shiloh, neither wilt thou allow thy Holy One to decay. Thou wilt make known to me thy path of life. In thy presence is fullness of joy. The right hand there are pleasures forevermore." But I want to read this in Psalms 122. No, sorry, Psalms 22. This is amazing. This was written thousand years before Jesus, before the Romans came on the scene. Again, this is clearly identifying. David was looking down through the tunnel of history, and God was showing him the Messiah. Listen to this. Okay, right here. Psalms 22. my God, why hast thou forsaken me? Far from my deliverance are the words of my groaning. Oh my God, I cry out. No, oh my God, I cry by day, but thou dost not answer. Then I want to go to verse 16. Verse 16. "For dogs have surrounded me. A band of evildoers have encompassed me. They pierce my hands and my feet. I count all my bones. They look, they stare at me. They divide my garments among them, and for my clothing they cast lots." You see, that was another way of the Romans. That's what they did, and yet this is fulfillment. And there's just so many other things. It says somewhere in Psalms as well that not one of his bones shall be broken. So this is what I wanted to say. This is the power of the resurrection. Jesus is still alive today. He's changing people's lives. So whoever you are, if you want to know what I'm saying is true, ask God to reveal himself to you, and he will. If you're sincere about it, God will reveal himself to you. There's overwhelming evidence of the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Overwhelming evidence. Like James, the brother of Jesus, he was not a believer during Jesus' lifetime. He only became a believer after the resurrection. And then the Apostle Paul, he was a persecutor of the Christians. He did his very best to destroy the church. And he was on his way to Damascus to arrest Christians and to bring them back. And on his way, a bright light shined. He fell to the ground. He was blinded. And he heard a voice saying, "Saul, Saul, why do you persecute me?" He said, "Who are you, Lord?" He said, "I am Jesus, who you are persecuting." And that's how Paul got saved. He met the risen Lord. And he became an ambassador, an amazing preacher of the gospel. That's why, if you were to rip out most of the New Testament, you'd rip out all of Paul's epistles. God used them in a miraculous way. So just to say, there's no such thing as an atheist. God proves his existence through prophecy. Like everything that is happening in our world right now was predicted in the Bible over 2,000 years ago. That's why Jesus said in John chapter 14, verse 29, I tell you this before it happens, so that when it happens, you may believe. You may believe. The Bible is over 1/3 prophecy. God has marked his signature upon the Bible. I'm going to tell you the future before it happens, so that when it happens, you may believe. In no other book even dares to predict the future before it happens. In the Bible is 100% all the time. The Bible tells us that there's coming a one world government, a one world religion, you name it. That's what the Bilderbergs want. That's what they're working on. They've been at this since day one, bringing in a world government, a one world religion, because they want to destroy all the other religions and set up a one world religion. This is the Council of Churches and the United Nations. They want a one world flag, like one country for the whole world, which is a one world government, a one world flag, a one world government, one world religion, one world currency, you name it. This is what they're doing, and yet the Bible tells us world government is coming. This is the fulfillment, ladies and gentlemen. And it's just amazing, like all these things happening right before it. We're living in a new world order right now, ladies and gentlemen. I don't care who disagrees with me or who agrees with me. We're living in a new world order. It's just not running yet. We see all the surveillance cameras everywhere. They're tracking people, monitoring, they're studying us, you name it. And it's strange. I don't know if this is anything, but lately I've been seeing, like these the Bell business, like Bell Canada. Well, these vans are going up. They're doing stuff up in the power lines. I don't know if they're putting bugs in or what they're doing, but I already know. We're already being tracked and monitored. We already are. They can find out anything about you. Like the other night, I was out seeing this camera at a street light, so it can zoom in on the cars. They can find out everything they want just from that license plate. All they have to do, and your name's going to come up. You're the owner of that car. Your name comes up on the computer. They can find whatever they want about you. They know every single thing about us, ladies and gentlemen. There are secret profiles on each and every single one of us. I don't care if you guys believe me or not. This is Bible prophecy. This is what the Antichrist, everything that he needs is here to track and monitor and study everybody. We're racing towards a digitalized world, a digital economy, you name it. But I just wanted to share this about the resurrection. And by the way, by Jesus saying, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but through me. Everything that he said has happened. So if Jesus says, I'm the way, the truth, and the life, no man comes to the Father but through me, he's telling the truth. And his resurrection proves that every single thing that he said would happen. Every other thing that he said that will happen is going to happen, and it shows that Jesus is speaking the truth. As he says in John chapter 17, verse 17, satisfy them by thy truth, for thy word is truth. And the Bible proves itself by the fulfillment of the Bible prophecy that is happening right before our very eyes. Things that were predicted in the Bible would have seemed impossible to be fulfilled back then. Like how in the world can everybody be monitored and tracked by receiving a mark on the right hand or on the forehead? That was totally impossible back then until we reached the computer age. We're living in a computerized age. And plus where it says in Revelation chapter 11, verse 9, which says, those from the peoples, tribes, tongues, and nations shall see their dead bodies laying in the streets for 3.5 days. That would have been impossible. But now we have television, we have everything is here. And plus Jerusalem, in Zechariah, Jerusalem shall be a burdensome stone. That would have been a ridiculous statement to make back then. Like everything that would have seemed impossible, it's here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm trying to show you, for what the Bible says, everything the prophets and what Jesus said is here. It's happening. Everything is leading up to the Great Tribulation, and we are about to go home. So be ready to meet the Lord. The rapture of the church is about to take place. And this is all I got to say. And God bless you all.